Hey Sarah. Okay, so usually I don't, start reading until I have the spread out already, but I just wanted to say what was coming through already, which may or may not connect with the past life reading. So right now, what I was getting was for some reason the name Bryn or word Bryn, like Brinn. And sorry if there's any noises in the background. I have a puppy I'm looking after, and she might make some noises. But if it gets too annoying, I'll put her away. But sorry. Anyway, so yeah, the word or name Bryn is coming through. So I don't know if that's actually like the name of this aspect that we're going to look at for your past life, or if that's something that you can connect with yourself for some reason. Bryn. And then there was something about it, because sometimes a couple of lives comes through just because from each life there's energy that you can tap into, right? So a few might come through, or usually just a couple, like two usually tops. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, no, I think it's connected. Here we go. Here I'm going to start. Okay, so I just went ahead and laid out the spread. So here is your past life spread. So what we're going to do is look at where you were, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with the relationships and feelings involved, another important day with relationships and feelings, the death over here, the lesson learned, and we'll get hints of time throughout. So I know I was saying how sometimes there's a couple of lives that come through, but one distinct one is coming through initially with that name that's coming through, which is Bryn, however you can connect with the name Bryn. But it feels like this might be an aspect here, but it could be, again, you can connect in your own way. So all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that are already coming through, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what comes through here and your current life, okay? And I'll try to help however I can. So keep in mind, there are a couple ways to make connections, direct and opposite. Direct connections, you directly connect with the information coming through. Opposite connections, because our soul likes to experience different things in different lives, sometimes what comes through here might be the opposite of what you're going through in your current life. So for example, sometimes we'll get a death in a past life of alcoholism, and they come back with like an allergy to alcohol, like that kind of thing. All right, so I do want to say that it feels like we're having a prominent life come through, but also there's something else about this where I feel like you went through maybe possibly like 2 to 3 lives for similar, to learn similar lessons kind of deal. And it might be because sometimes lessons do take lifetimes, or, a certain amount of aspects to go through a lifetime, so to speak, in order to really learn a lesson. Because it's like learning a lesson there's so many aspects to certain things that you can be learning, even if it's just self-love, that's not simple, you know what I mean? Okay, let's start with where we're going. So here we have the Europe card. The Europe card can be obviously anywhere in Europe, that's a lot, right? But what I felt distinctly pulled to was at least a prevalent life coming through that feels very, very, very much like Scotland. It feels like the thing is with Scotland, there's also something that comes through that feels like there's something about like seeing different aspects of Scotland, so it doesn't feel like this is a life where it's a grounded, settled. You know what? Okay, so 2 things are coming through. The movie Brave, right? Okay, I think Disney, right? Is it Disney? I don't know, but Brave, with the red-headed the cartoon, the animated. But then the other one coming through is Games of Thrones. If you saw Games of Thrones, there is a character, I think, of the wildlings, and this is the character that ends up in love with the main Watchman guy, Jon Snow, the one that he loves, who's a wildling. If you haven't seen it, just Google that so you can see what she looks like. And this feels like we're looking at an aspect of you that is a combination of the two, and I want to say a combination of the two because there's a fierceness and a warrior-like huntress kind of thing about this energy that is very, I want to say more what we would consider to be masculine based, but not, still understand, oh yeah, woman, but masculine based, but almost made to be that way due to the circumstances of the living conditions. And then the brave thing comes through because there's something of the idea of being sheltered still, but it's by the community, and it's not sheltered in the notion of innocent mindset. It's sheltered in the notion of people having your back, like your tribe has your back. and everyone kind of knows where everyone is. Everyone keeps tabs on everyone, but not in a nosy way, just like in a survival kind of way. Another thing coming through is, as far as the time goes, oddly enough, what's coming through is Beowulf. So this feels like okay, obviously a very long time ago. What we're going to start with connections will be, one, if you've ever been drawn to Scotland, if you've ever been drawn to Scotland, but not in like the romantic Scottish princess sense, but in the wildness of the Scottish countryside kind of thing, the vastness of it, the diversity of the terrain, in a way, almost like there's a romanticizing about it, but it's not romantic. It's the kind of thing that's what feels like it's coming through, something about like the best way I can say it is what wants to come through is it sings in the blood. It sings in the blood. So there's something ancient, something like almost ancestral, something almost primitive. But we're looking at a tribe, we're looking at a community. Okay, so how you might connect with this as well could be your idea of community. Are you someone that felt that you were you chose to be born back into a community where people have your back? That's very like I want to say neighborly, but it's more than that. Almost like I want to say you would have chosen, if it's directly, you would have chosen a family that's kind of like, not the mafia, but you know how like they just kind of like, hey, this is blood, like family is first, and family, you know what I mean? Like just, you know, they have your back kind of thing. Not even necessarily that you all might get along, but that you have each other's back kind of thing. But at the same time, this kind of feeling here feels like we're looking at something that you might oppositely connect with, in the sense of being born independent, like wanting to experience independence, and kind of like, I want to say, how you would see this as well could be if you find yourself in codependent relationships, either in your youth or continually as a theme in your life, because it would speak to a lesson of striving for independence, so that the universe would essentially be bringing up I want to say opportunities for you. Sorry about the dog. Would be bringing up opportunities for you to learn independence, but it's not like a test. It's just like, hey, here's an opportunity where you're going to feel sheltered and codependent, and your job is going to realize that that's not your role in this life because you already experienced it, and you need to strive for independence by learning to let go of the codependence, if that makes sense. Now, this isn't saying like if you're happily married, you know, don't do anything like crazy. But if, let's say you are happily married, this might be the kind of thing where, hey, check in and see where you might be able to do your own thing, like expand in your own way, whether it is like the whole like going down your own spiritual pathway kind of thing and exploring your inner universe, we might say, or it could just simply be taking a class where you meet friends and you get girl time in, or alone time, or you start taking a day out of the week to just go and have like tea out or to coffee or whatever somewhere alone by yourself. You know what I mean? Like just something where it gives you kind of a sense of your own space and time and lets you like be with yourself, if that makes sense. And so if you're not in a marriage or a relationship where, you know, whatever, this would still say to, this is more like, don't take it for granted. Like you're alone, like let's say you're not in a relationship, don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted your alone time, your you time, because there's so much that can be learned in that, and also so much can be developed and grown in that space of independence or of aloneness. Like, you know, it's not always, alone is not lonely, which you probably know. But this would speak to someone, even though this feels right here, this life feels like there is like a very bonded tribe here. How they're living their life, how it feels like they're living their life, feels like each person could live on their own because of the skill sets that they acquire in order to contribute to the community. And by that, the more I'm talking, it's almost like I want to say everyone can hunt, everyone can trap fish. Is that what they call it? Trap. I don't usually say that. That's kind of cool. So everyone can trap a fish. Everyone can identify plants that might be useful in healing, or what's coming through is more like stopping blood on a wound, because it feels like there might be attacks from actually animals that are more severe like, I'm not getting I feel like, oh, you might hunt like something like a fox, but you also might have to avoid something like whatever they might have there that might be like a coyote kind of thing or something like that, you know what I mean? So you might connect in any of the hobbies as well, which might be kind of outdoorsy hobbies. If you feel like you've ever been pulled towards, that's where Brave is coming in. That what I mentioned, Brave, that aspect. There's something about bow and arrow. So if you've ever been pulled towards bow and arrow stuff, archery, or this is self-defense, but it's not like martial arts, like to kick someone's butt. It's self-defense in a very common, common sense, grounded kind of martial arts. Okay, so another thing you might connect with this card would be mobility, travel. So if you're someone that likes to be on the go, travel, or you don't mind change, or you don't mind, you're good at traveling, like kind of like you can throw a weekender bag together and go kind of thing, not a hassle. That would be a direct connection. Opposite connection is if you're a homebody and you don't like change and you just want to get cozy and stay rooted down and even like be in your community kind of thing. Maybe this also pertains to the idea of not being able to let go of things you had a long time that actually might not serve you anymore. And by that, what's coming through is the idea of like people in your life who may have been there a very long time, and you might find yourself kind of growing in some way, mentally or emotionally or physically or spiritually or whatever, and people, even though they've been there for a decade or whatever, they just might not be at the same level or going at the same pace or holding the same values, or they just might not be serving your energy in some way. And again, the key is to be aware of this, and kind of I want to say, like, at least if you can't physically break ties, or you don't want to cut that tie because it's like I've known them forever, then energetically just make sure you're not entangling in their energy, because if you do that kind of thing, what it does, it just kind of like it just holds you back a little bit. Like it'll keep you a little bit at a slower pace if you surround yourself with people who are not like aligned with your path too, if that makes sense. So keep that in mind, because here too with this tribe, these people, you're all at the same pace. That could be good and bad. I feel like I want to say that's positive and kind of, not so positive, because you can't just go off on your own if you evolve quicker than everyone else. So it's almost like everybody paces their evolution at the same rate as each other, which is like really awesome. Let's say it works if you have a family and you grow together as a family, and you want to pace each other at the same, but you don't want to hold yourself back significantly where it feels like you're kind of chomping at the bit to expand into the biggest version of yourself, and yet holding yourself back because it might hurt someone's feelings, or it might bother someone or scare someone, or it might mean change, like great change, like that kind of thing. So don't let fear get in the way, or don't let fear, or maybe even if you find yourself having trouble expressing yourself, like articulating the changes that are going on, such as when I'm like, oh, you need, maybe take some space. If that connects with you, the space, but it's hard to take space for whatever reason, this would be one of those things where that's what it feels like to feel held back in your pace. When you feel like you can't say, I need a day away to just chill. If you can't do that, because it'll hurt someone's feelings, they won't understand, maybe they'll get jealous, or maybe they'll get annoyed, or they'll overthink it, or they'll make you feel guilty, or you know what I mean, for whatever reason. That's someone that is holding you back. That's you holding you back, actually, by keeping yourself surrounded by that kind of energy, but also by not being able to express what you need in order to just get that tiny bit of growth in, because those baby steps really count. So anyways, keep that in mind. But here it does feel like it's really lovely. There's a lot of camaraderie here as we move along. I do want to say before we go on is this is not the only time you're like in a band of people moving about and kind of having each other's back. And I want to say you see there's going to be at least one of these people in your life today, like at least, like you guys find each other again and again. But this also feels like, I want to say you've had a life not potentially, it feels Viking. It just feels Viking. Another, like very similar to this. And then another one, I don't know if you've ever heard of Avalon or like King Arthur or that kind of thing, but it's like around that time period, bands of like the same kind of thing, but like old, what was it? Is it like England or Wales or something? So we're back in the UK at least. So any ties you might have to the UK, ties as in, real ties, but also emotional ties. Like I want to say, if you haven't looked at Scotland or seen Scotland or whatever it might be, to pull up pictures on Google of Scotland and see if you are emotionally triggered or pulled, or if it's like, home, or if it's like, I need to go there, I need to be there, I want to be there. But also look up Viking stuff if you haven't, see if you connect with that. Not the killing sprees, I mean maybe, I don't know, but it's more about like the culture, and look at the traditions and belief systems is what I want to say. Regarding what's coming through is the idea of like ceremony or ritual, or it's not about the war part, it's about the community part. This is about the people part. So this is a lot about, again, the relationships that you're surrounding yourself with. Who are you allowing to be around you? Your standards, healthy boundaries. That's what this feels like right here. So keep making connections where you can here, and we're going to go to the next important day. Or the first important day. This is the birth card. So I want to say that with a birth, it's like, it could be your birth, it could be you having a kid, it could be you watching someone have a kid, or you could be a midwife. There's all kinds of things with the birth. And then here is the family card for the relationship, and the feelings here is torn. So what we're seeing here, actually, because the community is so small, it looks like you are having a child with a partner, but it feels like these partnerships are kind of held together by logic rather than passion. So these are people who have relationships and grow their families with their minds, not with their hearts, because it's almost like, let's keep the community going. And I want to say there's affection and fondness, but that's certainly not passion. That's not romance. There's no romance here. That's what it feels like. There's not like romance. So this might explain, however you might connect with this, is how you approach relationships, marriage, and family. You might be someone who actually doesn't want to have kids, because here having kids was like a duty, and it wasn't like out of like, oh, I'm in love and I want to create a human being with you and raise it. It's not like that. It's like, again, it's very pragmatic, even though there's affection, and there is love. It's just, it doesn't have the luxury of romance, we shall say. So you might actually find in your current life, if you like romantic novels, romance movies, notions, or even learning about romance through history for some random reason, that would be an opposite connection, because there was no romance here. So this can also mean about how you approach relationships. You might be still very pragmatic in your relationships, where if you have not found a relationship that's working for you, it could be because you might be someone that does the whole, like, you have a checklist and the person needs to meet your checklist, so you're not really relying on intuition or the universe, we shall say, to connect you to what is most suitable for you, which might actually be very romantic. And even if you're someone that's not romantic in this life, it could be that you are meant to experience very romantic partner or partners in order to, I want to say, reconnect you to that part of you, because it wasn't here. So it's almost like there's a disconnect, and it had to be a disconnect, like mentally, like you couldn't even entertain the thought here. It's just like, no point. You know what I mean? It's almost, I want to say, foolish, like that kind of thing. So if you actually might be someone too who can connect with this, how you would connect with that would be if you see romance and mushy stuff like in films or whatever, and it makes you wince, or it embarrasses you, or you're just like, really? Like that kind of thing. So if anything, if you connect in that way, this would be a message for you to just maybe consider opening up to allowing some romance into your thoughts, or some romantic thoughts, little baby steps kind of thing. On the other hand, the opposite connection would be if you came back and you were romantic and you like the idea of a passionate romance, or a relationship where you feel like it's your soulmate, things like that. And that's perfectly fine. But that would explain why you'd be that way, because it would be opposite to here not having it enough. So if that's the case, you can lean into it. So if you're in a relationship and you're not happy, we'll say, it's probably because they're not giving you the level of intimacy or romance that your soul craves. If you're in a relationship and you're happy, it's because it feels very balanced in that area. And if you're not in a relationship, the person that would be right for you would know how to read the type of intimacy and romance that you need and enjoy it as well. Like, it wouldn't be a chore. It wouldn't be pragmatic. It wouldn't be like this kind of thing. So keep that in mind just in case, like, in case you were wondering about that in your life, like that kind of thing. And if you have walls up to the romance, it's because it's built here kind of deal. So just be aware of it. Again, awareness and acknowledgement of these things is the best way to, I guess, tackle them. You know, they're not bad. It's just that it's good to shift out of something you've already experienced that's not serving you, if it's not serving you, okay? Because you can have this, like a romance thing, and a career, and a this, and a that, and you know what I mean? Like, you can have it all. This is a great timeline that we're in history right now, where we have a lot of freedom and independence, but also we can, like, have high standards and demand what we want, you know, and not settle. So I guess that would be the ultimate message, would be not to settle. Because that's what it was here. It's all settling, in a sense. That's how we would see it. Now, this can also be that you, so first we were talking about how you might not want children because of this, but this can also be if you actually want a family and you want to love on babies kind of thing. It would be because you didn't get to really, like, choose the whole, like, I want a family that I can nurture and love and grow and you know, that kind of thing. It wasn't here. So that's how it could come back in this one. If not to have no kids, it would be, I want to have children and I want to do it my way and I want it to be loving and I want it to be because of different motives and reasons than here. So keep that in mind. The torn card is coming in as in, there's no torn feelings, actually. So the feeling is a torn card, but it's not because you're torn, it's because you weren't allowed to be torn. So if in your current life you find that you have trouble making decisions, it'd be from this life where you had to make decisions very directly and right away and precisely. That's what this feels like. Like, there's no effing up. There's no mistakes. There's no, I mean, I'm sure there are, but, like, that's not, it's like there's no excuses for a mistake. Like, they look down on mistakes. So if you find that you're a perfectionist in this life, it would come from here, where it was almost like you had to be perfectionist, because it was also about survival. So there was no torn feelings because you couldn't even entertain the idea of going back and forth between the decision, because that is a luxury here. But in your current life, now in this timeline, we do have the luxury of being indecisive. It's not very helpful to us and it doesn't always serve us. It's not like awesome, but we do have the luxury of being able to do it and not get in trouble or not die because of it, right? So if you find that you do have issues, or any kind of theme coming up where it's about decision making and you just don't like making decisions, it would stem from here. In that case, I would say look into grounding exercises or techniques where it's like you connect to the earth and you ground. Because here it was actually very grounded living, because it feels like you guys were always on the earth, like just moving like through the woods, over the land, whatever, you know, it's just like always on the ground, feet on the ground always. Or even in the trees, but whatever it was very nature-based here, which could connect, by the way, if you find that you love being in nature, if you are nature-based, and you can get your grounding in by putting your feet on the ground, of course, but if you can't get to nature for some reason, you can always look at YouTube videos and also photos online, believe it or not, and ground yourself by connecting on an energetic level with intention. So, I mean, that's how it's done. It's really interesting, but I would try to get out to the ground kind of thing. But keep making connections where you can. Here, we're going to go to the next important day. This is the graduation card. Yes, sometimes it's academia, but a lot of times it's kind of like graduation from a certain mindset, or like a certain emotional state, or a certain even physical status, whatever it might be. And what we're seeing here, what's coming through, is the idea of you going from a young woman to like a mama. Like I'm saying it in that sense where it's like a mama, where it carries a weight to it. Like, again, it's not romantic. It's a fierce energy. It's like like a mama bear. Okay? So you go from like it's like a girl to a woman. essentially. So that's where we're seeing the graduation here. Now, how you might connect with this is if you find that you have maintained a youth-like quality or childlike quality in your adulthood, and even as you get older and you notice you may maintain a youthful, childlike quality about you, and that's because you weren't allowed to here. You had to grow up here. Even as a young girl, you were grown up. Like, there's no childhood here, really. It's all about skill set. I mean, there is like well done and pats on the back and like affection, you know, some kinds of affection, but it feels very like just like a very like hit the ground running, learn your skill sets, join the community, contribute. And so that feels like it's all about contribution as a child here. So in your current life, you might be a people pleaser when it comes to that, or grown up, chosen a family to continue that, where you were the people pleaser in the family, or like the dutiful daughter, like that kind of thing. But here we are seeing an evolution of, it's not really, again, it's not a huge difference in you, but it's a big difference on the outside projected towards you. So you might be someone that really finds yourself affected by people's opinions of you. And that's okay, because we're human. But if you're aware of that, if you connect with that and you're aware of that, this would be an excellent opportunity for you, I would say, to first work on that. Work on diminishing your, I want to say, if your focus is placed outside of you, kind of like even subconsciously, like this is what I'm saying, is like, be aware, like, where do your thoughts go? What are you thinking? Like, where's your focus? Like, do you focus on people, like, are you very aware of people's expressions towards you, whether it's facial expressions, verbal expressions, or gestures, or do you read into things when it comes to how people respond to you, react to you, or act towards you? That kind of thing. Do you have insecurities where you find yourself judging you based on how you might feel looking through the eyes of someone who's looking at you? If that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So we're looking at just any themes where it's about your image and how you come across to people. If you hold yourself back or limit yourself in any way in order to come across a way that is more, I want to say, pleasing, like here, in order to fit in and keep your, for lack of better terms, status in the tribe community kind of thing, that would be a connection here. And that would be, I would say, an excellent place to start as far as if you're wanting to begin inner growth and deprogramming and starting to kind of step into your power. That would be an excellent place to start. And it starts with being aware and acknowledging, I do place my focus on this, and I need to understand that I'm just projecting and their opinion doesn't matter. What matters is how I feel. Like, just reel it all back in. Reel your focus into you all the time. Whenever you feel like it's wandering away, reel it back in. Focus on you. It's going to be so helpful. But this, anyway, so we're looking at graduation from young woman to mama bear. And there's something about it that is how we see it would be, there's a beauty to it because it's like the cycles of life, you know, just like the natural occurrences of life from going from a young woman to, you know, a mother kind of thing. Like, so there is that kind of traditional / mystical, you know, being a vessel of bringing a human being into the world, beautiful thing. So the respect here grows. So you might find that what I want to say, how it might parallel and how I hope it parallels is as you get older, your self-respect will grow as you start to see yourself for the big spirit that you really are. Like, as you really start to see yourself more and more as you go through the phases of life. And then it's going to do something where the quicker you're able to see yourself for who you really are, your authentic self, and start expressing that and really like loving every aspect about you and I want to say participating in who you really are more and more in the present moment every day, the less you're going to regret later on when you look back in hindsight. And so you won't be the person that goes, God, I wish I had the balls I have now back then. You know, or I wish I wish I knew what I knew now back then. But it'd be more like, I wish I loved myself now as much as I wish I loved myself then as much as I do now. Like that's what time does, like growing up and, you know, obviously the face, like that's what it does to you, but you can catch it now and start loving yourself now so that when you get to that place, you're not going to be the person that's like looking at photos of yourself and being like, God, I was so pretty. Why did I used to complain about my complexion? Why did I used to complain about my hair or my, you know what I mean? Like you hear that all the time. It's like, yeah, you were beautiful. It's too bad you didn't see that you were beautiful then, and you're still beautiful, but you're even, you know, wishing you were that now. You're still saying you're not beautiful even at this age. Like, you know what I mean? So this is really about, the whole message is about appreciating like all your flaws now. Like the best way you can really fully presently love all of you now is by starting with the flaws. Like you know what you like about you. That's great. Now get to the flaws and start to love your flaws and you are unstoppable. Seriously, super strength. That's a power to love your flaws. That's a gift. That's a superpower. I would definitely just, you know, process that, connect however you can. That's going to make you feel really good. Put it that way. It's going to make you feel on top of the world, like unstoppable. So, the relationship card with the graduation is the soulmate card. And this soulmate card, this is the child. So the child that came in, that turned you into Mama Bear, that got you the respect status of the tribe, that child came in because it had a contract with you. The contract was, I'm going to come in and be your child, and I'm going to get you to the status that you've been wanting so that you can just kind of breathe a little bit easier. Because that's what it feels like. Like once you hit Mama Bear status and you get that respect, it's almost like they're like, okay, you have done one of the ultimate duties for the community. You have given us a child. So therefore, you are very respectable and you can do less work. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, you're watching the kid, that's work. But you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, it feels like a bit of a burden is lifted now that this kid came along. So it's almost like, I want to say, this would be someone in your life that would feel like you guys want to just help each other all the time. Like you want to, and you're able to, and it's not, and it won't feel like you are giving up anything or compromising too much. Or if you are compromising, it's like you're happy to because you love them and you know that they appreciate you. So this is a really nice, lovely energy, and you would recognize it in your life like that. Like that'd be that person. If someone's coming to mind when I say that, that's the person. If no one's coming to mind, tuck in the back of your mind for a later time and keep going through life and see who shows up, because this person's gonna likely show up if they haven't already. So the feelings involved here is disappointment. I'm sorry, I should say it's the disappointment card. It's not disappointment. It's like torn, it's the opposite. So it feels like it's about that burden being lifted. It feels very good, and it's something you've been looking forward to, and you knew it would happen because you see other women get it because they have children. Now, this is also speaking about the motivation and reasons behind having children. So how do you feel about having children in the sense of what is motivating you? And you might already have kids, and that's great and fine. I'm not, you know, I'm not talking about that, but as far as even if you do have kids, having more kids, what are the motivating factors behind it? Would it be anything other than you truly desire and are passionate about having another child? That would be a great reason. You know, obviously if it's what you really want and crave for you on a heart and soul level, not for other people. You know what I mean? Like, just, I guess what I'm saying is just look at the motivation behind having children. Again, you might not even want kids, and that's cool, of course. But if you're thinking about having kids, or if you're even in a relationship and you're being pressured, or if your grandparents are like, when am I gonna have a grandbaby? Because they love to do that. Your job is not to provide children for other people or any reason besides your heart and soul wants it. Okay? So just consider that, because if it's anything other than that, then it's very, very easy to get to the place of resentment with the kids, like, you know, like regret or resentment, and you don't even want to like risk that, right? So anyway, that's what this is here. It's the soul contract, so there is no resentment because you do get something out of it, and the thing you get out of it is enough to satisfy you, if that makes sense. And again, because this culture seems not romantic about it, it's not like you feel like, oh, I wish that, da da da, you know, like you're not even romanticizing it. So again, in this life, it may be very different where you romanticize children or romanticize the family unit. And this might just be a message where it's like, that's great and fine, but still be realistic about it. And, you know, like what comes with it, like no sleep and, you know, like all the stuff that people don't think about. You know, just make sure you're looking at all the factors and, again, the right motivation for you to do that kind of thing. And I feel like it's not just about, like, having kids. I think this is really about, as well, things in life. You know what I mean? Like, what are you choosing to spend most of your time doing career-wise? Are you spending time with your passions or hobbies? You know, like, what are you prioritizing, and what is the motivation behind the prioritization, right? Because again, I feel like I keep wanting to say, and when I repeat stuff, there's something about it. So I keep wanting to say, later on, you don't want to look back and resent or regret. Okay? So, like, I want to say, in the same vein, where I'm saying, be sure the motivation is correct for what you want to do, I'm also saying, take those risks. Like, go for it. If you really want it. You'll know you want it because it'll excite you. You'll be passionate about it. It'll pull you. It'll intrigue you, you know, like it'll be all these feelings in you. That's your intuition. You'll know, but just make sure when it's from outside of you and people telling you, or you know what I mean, that kind of thing, that's not intuition. Intuition comes from inside. So anyways, you know that. So keep making connections where you can here, and we're gonna go to the death. So this is the murder card, and you know, it's not always like murder, like stab you in the back, you murder. This is also an intention card. So we get people who like drink themselves to death. They don't mean to like kill themselves. They just like overdrink. But I feel like you actually do get punctured. Punctured. Where are you getting punctured? It's so they're showing like a puncture that goes through either the back forward through the body, or it goes from the forward to the back. But basically what it's saying is there's a puncture that makes its way through the entirety, like in and out of the body kind of thing. I almost want to say like when you shoot an arrow and it goes in and it won't get stuck. I mean, arrows do get stuck, but like this one feels like, oh, it go clean through. I almost want to say that there's a clash of, I want to say clash of kinsmen. It was either your community splitting and fighting, or another community coming upon you that was more, I want to say warlike, because you guys, it feels like you guys have weapons, but it feels like these others are more about using the weapons. It's almost like you versus Vikings. And I'm quite curious, because I wonder if this is at the same time as Vikings, but it's almost like, go ahead and Google and see if Vikings went to Scotland, and if they killed Scottish people, please. Go ahead and look that up, because if there's anything like that, then that's what happened. And it feels like there was an attack, and it feels like you were killed through a puncture wound, and it feels like it would be right above the heart, or to the side. It's not like it's like, oh, through the heart, but it does feel like it's in that cushy place, where it's like, you know, the cushy place if you look at where your arm meets your body, and there's like a cushy, squishy place right there, like right near the pit. It feels like something goes through there. So I don't know, maybe it punctured the heart or something. What this might connect with would be if you feel like your heart chakra is closed, as in you feel like, if you feel like you don't feel the same sensations of the depth of love that people talk about, you're like, I've never experienced that. Like that kind of thing, that would just mean a heart chakra wound, which is energetic. So look up the heart chakra. And so this kind of thing could do that kind of thing. So if you do connect with that, it would be from this. If you don't connect, that's perfectly fine. What you also might connect with is if you're, I want to say if you have any birthmarks or any marks in the area by your, like, I feel like it would be on your back, shoulder blade, like bottom of the shoulder blade, and then the front side where that would be, but on the front. And it could be either side, you know, it really could. So, yeah, that's about it. Make connections where you can, and if not, I know it's kind of weirdly specific, so it's okay if not. But, yeah, tuck in the back of your mind for a later time. And let's see. Okay, so the lesson here, this is the let go card. This has to do with everything we've been talking about as far as what you had to go through here with the very like pragmatic, no childhood, kind of very point blank, cut and dried, it's everything we talked about here. You are able to experience the opposite, we'll say. You're able to experience what you weren't able to here. But if you find yourself energetically dabbling in these traits that we've been talking about, you're able to release them. You're able to shift, transmute, and transform and let go of them on an energetic level. And it's the whole thing I've been saying is being aware and acknowledging them. Because a lot of people, when there's something in them that's icky, they don't like, they'll push it down, they'll ignore it, they'll be like, oh, no, 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 you know, like that kind of thing. It's like, no, 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 that means it stays in you. It doesn't get resolved, it doesn't get released. So when you are aware of these things and you acknowledge them and you allow them to come to the surface, and yeah, it might feel kind of icky sometimes, that's okay, we're human, but if it comes to the surface, that means it's that much closer to being able to be let go of. You know, if it's at the surface level, then oh, boop, 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 bye. Like that kind of thing versus, no, stay down there, stay packed in me, like that kind of thing. So that's what I feel like this card is about, is letting go of this, of the things we've been talking about here. And it's more than that too. It's not just like, yeah, let go of it. It's like, you're capable of letting go of it. So let's say you've been trying to change certain things, certain habits or certain thought patterns or whatever you might, if you're aware of these things and you're like, but I've tried so hard to, you know, change this and I've tried not to this, or don't let your past failures, they're not failures, consider it practice, because I mean, your mindset is everything, but don't let your past failures of not being able to resolve something within you or get past something, don't let that hold you back or keep you thinking it's not going to happen, because it can simply be an understanding where, you know, you might not have to actually get past something or conquer something. It might be more about learning to integrate it into you in a healthy way where you can accept it about yourself as just part of you, but you don't focus on it and you don't give in to it. That kind of thing, you see? So it's about perspective, perception, and like how you're coming at certain things that you want to change about yourself, we'll say, or how you want to transform. It's your approach. So if the same type of approach isn't working, that's what the let go, then let go of that approach, but don't think you cannot make the shifts or changes that you have been wanting to, because you can, simply because you want to. If you're aware of them and you want to make change, it's there for a reason. That desire to change and shift and transform and become empowered, whatever it is, it's there for a reason, and it's there because you are capable of doing it. You just have to find the right approach. So be gentle with yourself and baby steps, and don't push yourself, but keep a steady pace forward. You know what I mean? And even if it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, that's still 2 steps forward, my friend. Like you're still going forward. That's still pushing you along. So give yourself more credit, okay? All right. So anyway, there is your past life. The only thing left over would be the timeline we talked about, is if you connect to that kind of ancient history at all. If you like learning about it in school, reading those books, you know, from back in the day, that kind of thing, that'd be a connection. But yeah, so anyway, there's your past life. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to make connections. And thanks for being patient, by the way. I really appreciate it. And thanks for letting me read you.